Hello and welcome. I'm Berth here on the Ring 1910 TV. I'm joined by professional boxer Jack 13 Morris. First thing we're going to talk about, obviously, the big weekend of fights that happened at Wembley Stadium. Frochie was his dynamic blowout of Groves, also DeGale and Gonzalez. But firstly, obviously going straight to the Groves fight. Were you surprised?
I was surprised at the finish. I wasn't too surprised at the result.
I personally, I wasn't surprised at the result. I felt that if Groves couldn't knock him out in the last fight after he'd landed such a good shot, how is he going to knock out a Froch? He's prepared and he knows what's coming. And I think he did a very good job of controlling the ring. I think in the last fight, Groves came across a little bit like he was an aggressive fighter. I think he surprised a few people because he landed such a good shot and then he came on for about 5 rounds. I think people forgot what Groves really is, which is a counter-puncher. And I think what Froch did really brilliantly this time was just take the right hand away, force him to throw longer combination, force him to throw the left hook, for instance, and then obviously you can pick him up with a big shot. What was your opinion of the finishing combination? Because I've never seen Frochie throw 2 punches that quick in my life.
No, I think you got to give Froch credit. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was teeing him up for that shot all night. You could see it from round 1. Well, Groves obviously didn't see it, but if you notice, he just chucked the jab to the side, which obviously made Groves react, and then just boom, he opened his shoulder up. Froch just went straight down the middle.
Were you a little bit surprised that, Groves looked ridiculously open to that combination? He didn't even try and pull his left shoulder around to try and spin out off of it or anything. He was just so square up for it. It was unbelievable. And I was surprised by that because, Groves is, although not an aggressive fighter as such, aggressive counterpuncher, spatial awareness is generally pretty good. I don't think he can live at that level for that long. And I think that the same thing happened in the last fight, which was he was fundamentally exhausted. I think he's a lot tireder than he looks. And then these big holes start to happen.
I think that's possible. I think there was two elements in it. I think Groves' preparation for this, I think he was purely going in there thinking, well, if I've got more conditioning for this fight, I can take Froch maybe to later rounds and finish him. But I think where Froch, he prepared, he kind of, if you watch the behind the ropes, they were going on about Groves when he was throwing shots in bunches. Rob McCracken was just getting him to back up and throw counters. But like I say, Froch just controlled the ring perfectly,
Yeah, I wasn't particularly into Groves' whole approach. I know a lot of people, maybe it appealed to casual fans, but I wasn't particularly impressed with his conduct, either before the first fight or the second fight. And I think by the second fight, it finally clicked for Froch. He kind of thought, hold on, he's buoying me off, I should be buoying him off.
Yeah, with Groves, I was a little bit disappointed in him because I think that he thought he had that fight in the bag. He just had to condition himself better. Like I think you said, Harold Foster obviously went to bed that night a happy man.
Yeah, again, it comes back. You come back to the first fight. For me, a lot of people said that fight was stopped too soon, but I think that fight was stopped just about right, a tiny bit too soon. I get where people are coming from, but ultimately, he was completely gone in that 9th round. To me, he looked like a tired fighter. He looked like a tired fighter the round previous to that, and he caught that big right hand. He stumbled off. The trouble was, the referee Foster's on the wrong side of it, made it look pretty messy. And this is the thing about fighters, they can be knocked out 1 second, boom, the next minute they're back on. Like it's like, what are you doing? But ultimately, in that period of time, the other lad, bang, and we've got big problems. So I can never knock a referee for doing what he did. I think he did the right, I don't think there was any biased as such in it. I just think he saw a fighter that was in trouble. And if I was George Groves, I'd be knocking on that guy's door and I'd be offering him 20 grand because he just made him $1.5 million. Because if he had gone a little bit longer, he'd have knocked him out, Frochie. He wouldn't have got the rematch. But there you are, that's another issue. DeGale, what do you think?
Yeah, I think DeGale, he performed really well. Obviously, I think he stunned Gonzalez with the first combination he threw, and I think that was pretty much decisive of him going on for the victory. He hit him with...
You're a DeGale fan, aren't you? You like DeGale?
I like DeGale. I like DeGale as a boxer. I think that he may need some social media training. But yeah, as a boxer, I think that, like he says, he's all wrong for everyone. His style is completely bizarre. You know, I'm not saying it's technically brilliant, but very hard to combat.
I was a bit 6 and 2 threes. It's interesting watching him on the smaller shows he's been on the last couple of years. Because I said to you, I've got a bit of a concern. I'm not too sure he's strong enough. I'm not too sure he's strong enough at that level. But he's come out and said that he's had injuries for the last couple of years. And the way he boxed, and now everything's cleared, but the way he boxed the other night, I thought he looked fantastic.
Yeah, he's got to be up there as our next world champion. I think what he did the other night was against another undefeated fighter in front. You know, let's face it, he's been boxing in leisure centres basically after the
shopping centres, leisure centres. For
yeah.
a gold medalist,
it's embarrassing, and basically what he's got to do now, he's got to get his post-fight interviews right, and he could have a massive following.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because obviously we know Terry Stewart, who's part of his team, and I think it's a bit of a shame, because I think he's a really nice lad, but I think he comes off terrible, like he did before the Groves thing. He just came off awful.
Yeah.
And I think that Groves fight did so much to damage him for a couple of years effectively, and now he just seems to be coming out of that. And like you say, I hope that someone gets hold of him and says, when you're in front of the camera, a bit of common sense, people want to like you, help them to like you, rather than ramming it down their throat a little bit.
Yeah, I think like boxing ability wise, he's going to be a potential superstar, but it's like on the Andre Ward thing, you've got to be able to sell a ticket, and I'm pretty sure he can.
Frocci, everyone's talking about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I personally, if it was me and I was Eddie Hearn, and congratulations incidentally to Eddie Hearn, I thought the production on that show, I was there, the production on that show was the best I've ever seen anywhere in the world, and I go to Las Vegas and see all the big fights all over the world. I thought that was an amazingly well-produced live event. If it was me and I was Eddie Hearns, could I get Froch to go, let's have a little swim in light heavyweight, see if we can get Bernard Hopkins?
I don't think there's any point. I mean, I wouldn't be. It might intrigue me a little bit, but I think Froch he's answered all questions. There's nothing. It's up to him what he wants to do. I don't think it's got anything to do with Eddie Hearn. I don't think it's got anything to do with money.
But he's got this big Vegas thing.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what he wants to do, but as a boxing fan and a fan of his,
I find the idea of him fighting Bernard Hopkins more intriguing than him fighting Chavez Jr., if I'm being honest. I think Chavez Jr. is going to be alive in that fight for about 4 or 5 rounds, and then he bangs him out as well.
It's a no-win fight for Froch, Bernard Hopkins. If he beats, his guy's 50 years old. It's like, what has he got to gain from that?
I'm not too sure I agree with that. I think Bernard Hopkins has proved himself to still be a viable force.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do that Froch wins. It's an age thing with Hopkins. A load of maybe not boxing experts.
I get that point. It's a fair point. But I would actually out of those 2 fights, and I'm not, Bernard Hopkins, the older Bernard Hopkins isn't, let's be frank, the most stimulating fighter you've ever watched. But I would actually be quite interested to see that fight happen.
Or maybe the one they missed a couple of years ago was Froch v Stevenson. But maybe that's too dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have anything to do with that if I was. I mean, you got Kovalev, Stevenson, you got Andre Ward, perhaps thinking about, popping up the light heavyweight. If I was anything to do with Froch, I wouldn't let him anywhere near any of those 3 lads. Not at this stage in his career. I mean, I don't think, I love Froch in a bit, but I don't think he beats Andre Ward any day of the week. The Russian kid, Ukrainian kid, Kovalev? Russian. I mean, he's an animal. You can see that he's possibly the worst out of a lot of them. Stevenson, the other day, didn't look too clever, did he? But he's obviously a very, very good fighter.
Yeah, I mean, all fighters have an off night. I think that's one of his. He got out of the way against a reasonable opponent.
Polish kid, yeah. Okay, we're going to wrap it up there for a second. We're going to go to one of our training tips now, and we've got a training tip from one of the coaches down here at the ring. It's Fat Nige.
Hello, I'm Fat Nige. I'm going to talk to you about nutrition. You're boxing. You need to make weight. You need to do it in a controlled fashion. You need to know two things: your lean muscle mass and your fat ratio. If you don't know them, everything else is guesswork. You need to know what you've got to play with. There are various scales on the market that will tell you what your lean mass is. They'll tell you what your basal metabolic rate is. Once you have that information, you can then start to do the sums. You can calculate your protein, you can calculate your carbs, you can work out what it is that you need to eat to achieve your results. Now we know there's 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. Theorising for a moment, let's take 500 calories a day out of that diet, and in a week we'd have lost that pound of fat. But we've got to know what we've got to play with. If you can't do the calculation or you haven't got the kit, come and see me at the ring. Remember, if you're not fighting strong, you're fighting wrong. I've been Fat Nige.
Fat Nige, you've got a nutrition tip from Fat Nige. And welcome back to the Ring 1910 TV. Good fitness tip there from Fat Nige. And if you do want to come down and jump on the scales, if you're a professional boxer, you want to know what you've got to play with by way of your weight, we can work the numbers out for you. It'll be our pleasure. We're going to talk about the big fight coming up this weekend. What can you say about a fighter like Miguel Cotto? First time I saw Miguel fight live was at Madison Square Gardens, the Shane Mosley fight. So what a great fight to see him in. And that was an interesting fight because that was the first time I'd ever really seen Cotto start using more boxing skill. He was obviously a very good boxer, but he'd been such a fighter up to that point. In the Shane Mosley fight, he started using that move in the last quarter of the fight type attitude. But it was a cracking fight, and Shane Mosley was brilliant that night as well, I remember. But this weekend, against Martinez, I just don't see it. I don't see him getting through it. I see everyone's talking about what's wrong with Martinez. And if that's the best thing that they've got to hope for, that Martinez is going to turn up a little bit 6 and 2 3s, I think they're asking a lot, because I think the kid's going to turn up, he's going to be on it. And if Austin Trout can beat him on points, I can't see how Miggs gets past Martinez, really.
Yeah, I'm going to sway with Cotto on this one. I think he's
bold.
Yeah, that's bold. It's just that he kind of seems to have rejuvenated himself a little bit. It's been stated that he was in charge of all these other camps.
But rejuvenated again, Delvin Rodriguez. I mean,
You need to let me finish.
But I don't see how that's rejuvenation. He's just beaten a lower level fighter in the fashion that a fighter of his calibre should. And now he's fighting a guy that a couple of years ago was the second coming.
But what fighter doesn't have a rebuild fight after 2 straight losses? He boxed pound for pound.
Well, no, that's exactly the point.
He probably couldn't get out for Austin Trout, to be fair.
I think there's a fair point in that, but let's think who he's fighting. Now, you got Martinez, who's had a bit of a dodgy fight against Murray, but that was possibly the only dodgy fight he's had in the last, 4 years or so. He's got a little lad, he's actually taken a lot of shots, coming up in weight. Is it a catch weight, or are they doing it at 11.6?
I believe it's 11.6 is for the title.
They're doing this fight at 11.6. I can't see how Cotto can carry the weight. He's just not big enough for starters. The lad's a southpaw, beautiful hand speed, very powerful lad as well. How does Cotto get to the end of this fight? I can't see it happening. I can see Cotto getting stopped in the corner. I can see Freddie Roach pulling him out of it. I just can't see a way that he wins this fight. I can't see how he knocks out the kid. I can't see how he beats him on points.
I think it's a work rate fight. I don't think Martinez throws enough shots. It's all if you watch Martinez box, he's very clever. But Cotto's going to be aware. It's almost like sharp shooting in 3s and 4s.
Does he get that close to him?
3-4 times.
If the kid's got mobility, does he get that close to be able to get them shots off? I mean,
he comes to the body. He works a lot.
What's the best fight that Cotto's had in the last 2.5 years, 3 years?
Probably the one he lost against Floyd Mayweather. I think
Exactly right. And he lost that fight. Yeah, and he lost that fight, I'd say, by about 4 rounds. He's coming up against a kid who's bigger. Great movement, fast hands, and all of a sudden he's going to go up 2 weights and win this fight, I don't see how that happens. I just don't physically see how he can do it.
I think I mean, watching him on the HBO program, he looks like he's carrying the weight well. He looks healthy. He looks big. He don't look unhealthy at the weight. He looks good.
I remember when Sugar Ray Leonard came back against Hector Camacho, and he climbed in the ring and he just looked amazing. He just looked superb. Physically, 10 out of 10. Stopped in 6 rounds by Camacho? In fact, Camacho came out early in that fight, got to the ring early because he couldn't wait to get in there. They had to send him back to his changing room so he could come out properly. I think fighters know. I don't know that Cotto knows. I think Martinez knows this is a big fight for him. He's going to look great winning it. I don't think he'd take the fight if he wasn't 100%, and I can't see how Cotto gets the chance to do anything about it. What is this fight going to look like? How's it going to finish for you? Are you saying Cotto on points?
I'm saying Cotto on points or late stoppage.
I'm definitely Cotto stoppage before round 10. If he gets that far down the road, I'd be very surprised.
You're saying Cotto will get stopped?
Yeah, Cotto gets stopped. You know, in similar fashion to the way Manny Pacquiao stops him. I think he looks good for a few rounds. He gets bopped around the 3rd or 4th round, never quite recovering, and then the other lad just chips away at him, and then finally the referee or the corner turn around and say, we'll call it a day. The only way I can see him getting through it is if they have that kind of Joe Calzaghe, Roy Jones scenario where Martinez starts showing him a bit too much respect, doesn't really want to knock him out, and then starts dancing around him and showing off for a few rounds. Then I can see Cotto getting some points. But outside of that, I don't think that's in Martinez's kind of makeup. I think he'll go for the stoppage.
Let's wait and see.
Okay. We're going on to our training tip section now. We'd like to, we'd like to introduce you to someone called Angry Coach. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm Angry Coach, down at the Ring Boxing Club in Southwark. Today, I want to talk about one thing, and I'm going to make 2 points about it. Pad work. The amount of times I've walked into a gym and seen some trainer slamming the pads off of some boxer's hands. What are they trying to do? Damage the kid? Second point I want to talk about is there seems to be a lot of people in the fitness industry walking around trying to blag that they're boxing trainers, and you can always tell who they are because when they're working the pads, they're holding them out here. Who's he meant to be fighting? The Elephant Man? When you're doing your pad work, you want to keep things nice and tight. You want to replicate your boxer's opponent. It's a bit risky. I've taken a clump from time to time, but you've got to know what you're doing of.
Angry Coach. He's absolutely livid. Okay, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed Angry Coach. You can come down and meet him if you like. We're going to wrap it up now by talking about the bets we like at the weekend. We're not going to go through the whole card of what's happening this weekend because we don't believe in dribbling on for ages. So we try and pick out the biggest fights, and the biggest fight this weekend for us is the Cotto Martinez fight. What bet do you like out there, and who's supplying it?
I like the bet 11-2 for Miguel Cotto to win by decision or TKO, and that's with Coral at 11-2.
All right, I've had a little look through, and Bet365 are offering Martinez to win by disqualification, stoppage, TKO, any of the above at 3-1. I think that's a pretty good bet. I mean, I won't go crackers on it, but I'll stick a couple of quid on that. You know, keep it interesting while we're watching, and we'll come back next week and see how we get on. Bring your betting slips with you. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Till then, from Jack Morris and Berth. Good night.